Welcome back for another episode of Trucker Talk Radio Behind the Wheelhouse. I'm your host, Justin, and as always, I'm glad you're able to join us today. One thing I enjoy most about hosting this show is introducing you to people and companies that are solving real problems in trucking. Every day, there are innovators working behind the scenes to make the industry safer, more efficient, and more profitable for drivers and fleets alike. That's exactly what today's conversation is all about. But before we get started, I'd like to thank ReadyApp for their support in today's episode. At ReadyApp, we know that every minute matters in trucking, whether it's helping a carrier verify a driver, streamlining onboarding services through driver verify and the digital passport, or even just building the ReadyApp digital passport to simplify how professional drivers manage their careers. Our focus in giving transportation companies tools to save time, improve communication, and keep businesses moving. Go check them out today at www.ready-app.com. Today's guest shares a very similar philosophy, but from the maintenance side of trucking. If you spend any amount of time in trucking, you've probably experienced one of the most frustrating situations imaginable, and I've done it many times. Your truck breaks down. The driver doesn't know who's coming to get it fixed. You can't find anybody. Dispatch is making 100 calls, can't get the right person, or they say they'll be there in 6 hours. And then every minute that truck sits on the shoulder, everyone involved is losing time, money, and safety. My guest today looked at that entire process and asked a simple question: why are we still doing it this way? Alex Bezzubets, I don't know if I got any.
Bezzubets.
Bezzubets, yeah, I would have never got that. My apologies. Is the founder and CEO of myMechanic, a technology company that brings roadside assistance into the digital age. Hallelujah. Their platform allows fleets to instantly create service tickets, locate nearby repair providers, communicate in real time, track roadside repairs on live maps, and eliminate much of the confusion that traditionally surrounds emergency roadside services. Alex believes roadside assistance shouldn't require dozens of phone calls and endless updates, and I can promise you from my experience that's exactly what it was. 25 phone calls, not getting people where they're supposed to be, so that is all 100% true. It should work the way consumers already expect technology to work: simple, transparent, and real time. Today, we're going to discuss how myMechanic is changing roadside assistance, what downtime really costs fleets, the role of technology plays in maintenance today, and where Alex believes fleet services is heading over the next decade. Alex, welcome to Behind the Wheelhouse.
Thank you for having me. But yeah, you you definitely hit some you've hit some talking points and some pain points there.
Yeah.
But I usually tell people, hey, when we order a Taco Bell order at 11 p.m. and we don't want no one to see, we don't call the driver to see if he's coming because the system tells them. And that's
Right.
the concept we're trying to bring in, because I think it's overdue in this specific part of the industry.
It is, and I come from an agency. I used to have agencies with 50, 60 trucks, and we had I worked for a large owner operator company, and we had actual people that would do that job. But it still was a pain because the driver, for some reason, would never call that person. They'd always call me, the agent, needing to know this. And, they'd have a plan in place and have providers, but it was such a nightmare dealing with that on a daily because, when you got 50, 60 trucks, you've got a truck down every day, if not multiple trucks. I mean, that's with a tire or a battery or just something to do with electrical. I mean, it's always something. So I'm very interested to learn more about it. But before we get there, let's get to the beginning of your journey here. What got you involved in trucking?
Yeah, so out of high school, I was a career firefighter. So
Oh, okay.
I did that for about 5 years. Realized you can't make much money doing it. I was making, so I was like, okay, we we need to change that career. I went into did a couple different things and ended up in transportation, where we were working on systems, and a lot of trucking companies scale from zero trucks to 50, and a lot of times they don't know how they got there. And so
Hmm.
you're the CEO, you're the accountant, you're the dispatcher, you're the everything guy. And so we would strip down those roles and permissions. And I was working these different contracts. We started doing real estate plays with truck parking. I found an off-market deal, raised some capital. We closed on it. We ended up selling it later, but we acquired a shop and a truck parking yard. And I thought, how hard could it be? It's just a 12-bay facility, a couple mechanics, and yeah, I tell people it's one of the worst years of my life because just the pain that came with it, not knowing the hurt. It's not as simple as it looked. And so during that time, we get a lot of road calls. We were one of the bigger shops in Dallas, and we were declining the road calls just because we had no way to facilitate them. And one day, one of my mechanics was sitting next to me. He's like, "Hey, let me go run this call." And he ran the call and do the math. There's more money, less overhead. It's easier
Mm-hmm.
to scale on roadside than there is in the shop. So I found 5 roadside companies in Dallas, and brokered deals with them, said, "I'll pay you this. I'll do the marketing, branding." I went on the great directories out there like NTTS, Truck Down, Google, Find Truck Services, branded my name out there, and I acted as a call center. And so one day, a couple months in, I get a road call from a pretty big fleet, and I get excited because this is my way in. And I go down my list of providers. I'm like, "Hey, I got a jack stand. Can you go out, knock it out? Everybody's busy." And then the guy that's on the bottom of the list that you really don't want to call, but you can call. And I call
Right.
him and he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Hey, I'll be there in 35 minutes." So I call the company, the fleet, and I'm like, "Hey, we'll be there in 34 minutes because it's been a minute since we talked." And well, you know how the story goes. 2.5 hours later, I get a phone
Yeah.
call. "Hey, are you coming?" And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, one sec." So I start calling that mechanic. He doesn't pick up the phone. He finally answers. Turns out he got high. He passed out at the gate of the yard. He was in a Camry with a toolbox. And at this point, I'm thinking, dude, if I don't get sued, let alone get out of this road call, I'll be good. So he
Yeah.
knocks it out. It was pretty simple. I call the fleet for a payment, and second question in, they're like, "Hey, can we add you to our network of verified providers? You're pretty quick." So me thinking, knowing everything I know, I'm like, "This is pretty messed up." Well, what's your guys' experience? What's your flow like? And our drivers break down, they'll call us, they wait 15 to 30 minutes on the phone. We then go down the spreadsheet of providers we have, and we hope somebody responds within 4 to 6 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And me being naive, I'm like, "Well, what about the tracking? What about the communication?" They're like, "What do you mean? We have emails." So I was like,
That's it.
"Okay." So I hung up. I did a lot of market research. And what I found in the industry was there is a lot of platforms. If you're a fleet, wherever you break down, you have 15, 20 portals to adapt. There's directories, there's all these different systems that you have to adapt to. If you're a service provider, everybody's screaming at you, "Download my app, do it my way. If you want to run my road calls, do these 17,000 things." And
Mm-hmm.
so the vision and the concept of myMechanic was born in the sense that we are the first true agnostic marketplace in the industry where we have 3 types of customers. On one side, we have owner operators, fleets, anything big and diesel. In the middle, you have service call centers, so people that have relationships with providers and fleets, but not their own. And then we have service providers, towing companies, mechanical, tire dealers, vendors, etc. And if you have your own operating system, great. We'd love to integrate. But if you don't, we would love to give you one. If you're a service provider, we give you an operating system. You manage your technicians, your customers. You can give them QR codes. They can directly scan it and dispatch to you. You have a portal. You have a management system where it reduces phone calls. If you're a fleet, same thing. The goal is to eliminate all the phone calls. You said it earlier, 20, 25 phone calls. Well, a lot of those phone calls are status updates. "Hey, are you coming? Hey, can you grab
Mm-hmm.
this? Hey, where's he at?" Driver calls dispatch, dispatch calls mechanic company calls mechanic, and then back and forth. And
Yep.
so we have fleets and providers that are running road calls without making a single phone call. The tracking, the visibility, the communication, the opportunity of just seeing everything navigated, it's just great because now people are able to do what they're doing and they don't have to rely on a phone call or they don't have to rely on someone else. As a driver, you get a text message, you get to follow along with the Uber-like experience. So your drivers are now not calling you asking for status updates because they get to see everything. They too are connected. And but yeah, high level, that's the vision of myMechanic. And we don't get involved in the sense of telling people what they're going to get paid, how much they should charge. That's between the
Mm-hmm.
provider and the fleet. Our fee structure is very simple. It's $2.50 an event, or if you just want to be featured and receive leads, it's $10 a lead. So we try to really, really be on the side of the providers, understanding that it's their trucks, it's their insurance, it's their guys stranded on the side of the road, risking their lives sometimes, replacing a tire. And who am I to get in and start telling them what to do and how to do things? So we're for the industry. We feel like there's a great solution that we can provide to the industry and give people their time and their lives back.
Hey drivers, our partners over at Zero Breeze have designed a no idle air conditioner for sleeper cabs and fleets that can pay for itself in just one summer. If you're spending up to $40 a night in fuel, it's time to stop idling and start saving. For $50 off, email sales at zerobreeze.com or text them at 945 247 1298. And don't forget to ask them about their extended warranty option. Check them out today at zerobreeze.com. The 250 is absolutely cheap for just not having to make all them phone calls. But your ideal is simplistic, but it makes 100%. Why not? Have we not always had tracking on the service people? I mean, we have tracking on the trucks all the time. It would be that right there alone saves headaches, because even though if you're the that person at the carrier and you've got a driver, that driver is going to bombard you every 30 minutes wanting an update. If he can just look and see, yeah, he might still call you and raise Cain because he's sitting, but
Yep.
at least he can see where the truck is, how long it might be before he gets to him. Because as a truck driver, they're not making any money. They're aggravated. They're not in a safe place usually. So that alone's worth the 250. So I commend you for that, because
Yeah.
that's one of those things that you look at and go, why in the hell didn't we have this 5 years ago when they put tracking on big trucks? So
You're right. I'll just throw a quick thing in there. You brought up a good point. These fleets spend hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, if not, depending on the size, on telematics, and it's
mhm.
like you have all the greatest technology, and then it comes to a halt, and it goes
Yes.
back to phone calls and emails. And so we want to be an extension of that. We feel like we don't compete with any of them. We want to integrate. We're
Mhm.
working on some great integrations in some of them so that it's a continuous flow and it's a unified system for the fleet and the provider at the same time.
Got you. So you've kind of explained it a little bit, but I want to maybe dumb it down just a little bit for maybe some of the audience that's not even in trucking that wants to understand the concept. Because I do have a lot of entrepreneurs. I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur, so I always try to promote, people in our group that come up with things that work. So kind of walk us through, just a generic, from the time the driver calls and calls either y'all or maybe calls their office to then contact y'all. Kind of walk us through the whole steps there.
So we ourselves are not a call center. We will never make a phone call.
Okay.
We are just the technology. We feel like there are great dispatchers, there are great call centers out there. We have some strong partnerships where we can introduce people, but we are just a technology layer. So if from the fleet's perspective, we give the fleet an opportunity to import all of their providers. We have a directory as well. We're looking for legit providers to get featured in our directory. So if you want to reach out, we'd love to get you on. But the dispatchers have a portal they log into. A driver calls in or submits a breakdown via the mobile app or telematics, platform of science, for example. It comes
Mm-hmm.
into the dispatch center. They notice, hey, the location unit, fault codes, the local providers in the area that they have, and they could just digitally send it to the provider. If the provider's not in our system, they can email or text a secure link, we call it. And that secure link allows the provider to basically, without having to download an app or register, have full visibility of the road call. So they can upload photos, they can chat, they can see the location of the unit, they can track themselves en route to the breakdown. We have some fleets that pay a premium if you do.
Mm-hmm.
So it's basically a tool that brings everybody online from the police perspective. If you're a service provider, you have an operating system. So there's a great product out there like Full Bay Shop Monkey, Shop View for shops. We kind of do that for the roadside, where you are able to manage your mechanics. They have mobile app, you track them, you send them leads. We have call trees. So after hours, the telephone service will call John, Tom, and Barry in that order.
Mm-hmm.
There's tracking, there's data, there's KPIs, there's reporting. You're able to connect with your fleets. You can go to them, knock on their door, and say, "Hey, look, here's a QR code. Here's the NFC tag. Anytime you have a breakdown, you scan it, it goes directly to me. We're able to work with you directly." And so this is just an opportunity to strengthen people up, businesses, because they now have a portal. Um, we talk to a lot of fleets and ask them, well, why do you use this vendor? Why use that vendor? And their
Mm-hmm.
immediate response is because it's easy to dispatch. Well, your wait times are 4, 5, 6 hours. Yeah, yeah, but it's easy to use them. And so the fleets at scale, if they're running 1,000 calls a week, ease of use is important for them, right? And
Right.
so we feel like we want to give that same experience to the small guys, the guys that have
Hmm.
5 trucks, 10 trucks, 20 trucks, and give them a portal that connects them to the industry and allows them to manage their business better as well for without breaking their money and taking their money. And then if you're a call center, same thing. You're able to connect your fleets, your owner operators with your providers. Meanwhile, they have that whole experience, reducing phone calls. Your fleets are happy because they're seeing that experience, and you're able to navigate through the breakdown. You're able to be featured in a directory where people can book a road call with you. So there's a lot of cool components, but the goal is we want to connect the driver to the provider. There's about 15 different ways that happens, but at the end of the day, we need to connect the two without making a phone call. And there's a lot of great AI phone call. There's a lot of AI out there, and I'm a
Hmm.
big proponent of, we don't necessarily, the industry isn't lacking phone calls. It just needs a better way of doing things, right? And I think
Right.
there's a place for AI phone calls and follow-ups and everything, but I do believe there's an opportunity for us as an industry to evolve and to communicate better with technology, that helps everybody at the end of the day.
Well, that was one thing that I noticed when you came across my LinkedIn, and then I went and did some investigating on your website and stuff. That was the first thing that came to my mind was the 5 to 10 truck or the one or two operations, because where I've always worked at these owner operator companies had 2 to 500 trucks. They've got everything. They've got a huge list. They've got a program that they pay for where they get, up the food chain of when they make a call, they're higher up the list, and it still didn't help per se, but you did have somebody that took care of it. You still had the 4 to 6 hour wait a lot of time. But these small companies, they don't have anything. They're literally pulling their phone up and searching Google based on where they're at, what's available, and there's not a Love's or a TA at every 5 miles, on interstate for somebody to come. And even if you're close to one of them, that doesn't guarantee you anything. I mean, I've had drivers
Yeah,
within 10 miles of a major truck stop, and it was a 5 hour wait because there's only so much they can do at a time. So to have
yeah,
options for that is great. And then I like, if I'm making sure I'm understanding your platform is scaled in a way that you're not guaranteeing anything to go faster from point A to point B, but you're making sure that all the communication is done in house, simple and easy. But yet, the person you're making the happiest is that driver, because then that driver sees it all in real time to know what's going on. But then you're also helping each platform, have opportunity at more business. You're making the carriers where it's easier. You're bringing in the service people to make them more available, or more exposure to have opportunities to work.
yeah. So it's a two-part approach, right? One side of our platform, we do speed up because now you're able to see, is this guy actually coming? And the mechanic has the location. They're not driving around, hey, I'm by mile marker 85,000. I'm by a tree and I think I see a truck to go past me. But on the other side of it, yeah, you're right. We give everybody a good experience. And as this thing grows, it's a flywheel effect, right? We start
Mm-hmm.
getting more and more providers online, more and more providers online. It becomes easy of use for everybody. We have a strong relationship with Loves, and I think what the company has done is phenomenal in the fact that the Loves family of just what they've built is amazing. And even
Mm-hmm.
talking with them, their downfall is that they're good, and that they have all these locations, and so them being everywhere, everybody wants to go to them. And
Yep.
even them, they're pretty vocal. Like, hey, they're looking for strong partnerships out in the industry with these mobile mechanics and these other people out there because they're not trying to crush the market. They want to partner. Because if you're a fleet and you break down and you go to Love's and your ETA is 6 hours because they're just slammed, why not go
Mm-hmm.
to somebody nearby who's sitting and waiting for an opportunity? And I think technology can bring that together. And so when people talk about a mechanic shortage, which I believe there is one, of course, but I believe the bigger issue isn't a mechanic shortage. I believe it's a connectivity shortage. You can't tell me you broke down in Dallas and you called every mechanic and then you called them back in 5 minutes and you called them back in 5 minutes and you called them back in 5 minutes. Whereas with
Mm-hmm.
Uber, when you have you need a ride, the system scans every available driver that's applied to the system and it pings them and it sees who's available, whether this algorithm, whether it's availability or whatnot, and it stacks people. And so I see a big problem in the industry where people are saying 60 to 90 minutes just to hog jobs, just to
Mm-hmm.
making sure they're getting revenue. But what if we can remove that old mindset? And what we can do is you tell the fleet your exact ETA, but we'll get you another one. We'll get you another job opportunity once you're wrapping up yours. And so I think the solution isn't to just to tell 60, 90 minutes just so somebody can wait there. Tell them your ETA, prove it, and you're going to get
Mhm.
trusted for more opportunities by other fleets as well. And so I think that's what we're trying to deliver to the industry. I think there's been a lot of burning, a lot of people coming in and taking people's money and do it this way, and I'll pay you, 10% of what you owe, what you're owed, and I'm gonna hold that. I'm gonna do, and it's like, let's change it up a little bit. Let's give power back to the people, to the small businesses, to the fleets. And I think there's a business model for us. Not that we're trying to sound like Robin Hood. We're obviously going to make money off of that, but I think
Right.
there's a business model behind that.
Well, I mean, you're right. And the one thing I've said about trucking, I've been in it for 25 years. It's twofold. We as an industry seem to be further behind than most when it comes to technology. And a lot of it's the old guard. They don't want to change. Second, the one of the bigger problems that I see in trucking over the years, and I think it's gotten a little bit easier with with more people using AI, but everybody's scared to work with everybody. They're scared that you're going to find their secret sauce or find out a customer. And I think it's funny. Yes, trucking and industry logistics is a huge industry. It's the most important industry, in my opinion, in the country. We all know what everybody's doing. I mean, you can't hide who your customers are. You can't hide, who you use. It's funny that they don't want you to integrate sometimes because they're afraid you go. But we already know. I mean, it's still a close knit family that does, and just like it, you're looking at it in a different light, and it's refreshing because we've got to do that more because the more we can make things not per se robotic, but just less, physical work in it to the ease. You're saving money because I would figure you've got this, somewhere in your brain. There's no telling what it costs, and you might know if you do. Please say the downtime it costs a carrier, for a truck to sit. I mean, at 250, I mean that's less than pennies on the dollar for what a trucking company would spend. I mean, that's not 2 minutes of the truck sitting there for them to spend the
Yeah.
250.
That's a great question. I mean, there's so many great sources out there, whether it's ATA or even FleetNet releasing what the cost of downtime is. And I believe it's far greater than that because if you're an owner operator, what you have is your credibility. And if
Yes.
something inconvenient like a tire blowout that you could not have predicted, right? That could cost you reputation because you lose a customer, you get a freight guard, everybody's upset at you, you get bad reviews. The cost of that is far greater than 750 or a couple $1,000. If there's a load inside, then you miss your shipment, you miss your assortment. There's so much riding on that. Like if you're UPS, you could have one trailer, and in that trailer could be thousands of shipments, and that shipment has to make it to sort. And if it doesn't make it to sort, then everything just cascades from there. So I believe that it's far greater than what we see. I also think that, as you see, there's Congress is trying to pass a Workers' Death Act right now, where they're
Mhm.
standing by with workers that are getting killed on the interstates. And what we're going to enforce is fleets to document the timestamps of everything that happened. And they're going to be required because if there's a death, they're going to get audited. And everyone's pointing fingers. And so it's like, it's the cost of breakdowns. There's so many variables to it, because number one, you're not paying what you would pay at a shop for a breakdown. You're going to be paying a huge a multiple on that. So there's
Right.
that. There's the cost of you running. You're not making money. Your driver downtime, your driver retention, your driver's upset. There's so many different things. And I think the experience was step one. How do we do it? The driver's satisfied. The next is start reducing the downtime with good technology, with good data.
From my experience, have a driver down. I'm having to call my customer. He either is going to be, late for pickup or late delivery, what have you. And this was years ago before the fraud got as bad as it is now, nobody would believe me. They don't, there's so much all, you're just making that up. Is there a way in y'all's app, or maybe it's something you need to put in there, if not, that can be shown to a customer, or that, maybe the dispatcher can send a link to show, or a receipt or something like, hey, he is actually down and you're waiting, for XYZ, repair shop to come and repair a tire or something. Do y'all have anything like that?
It's a great point. We call it interested parties. So if you're a
Okay.
fleet You can add a shipper, you can add a broker, you can
Awesome.
add a DOT officer if you need to get the truck towed and he doesn't believe somebody's coming. You can add an outside person to follow along with the road call. They have limited exposure. They're just kind of visit viewer
Hmm.
accessibility. If you're inside a company like you're a big fleet, you can add your superior, you can have your shop manager kind of following along. So yeah, we have that feature. It's called interested parties. 'Cause you're right. Sometimes
That's
people don't believe him. Hey, I took a picture. Well, your truck's red. Why is the trailer? You know, it's like, oh well, crap. You know. So yeah,
yeah.
not that it happens, but
Right, right.
it's
Well,
there.
that's absolutely right there. For anybody listening, that's worth the $2.50. I mean, that alone, because I don't know how many times I've had that happen. And like, well, we just had a truck come through the other day and did this, and there wasn't nothing wrong with him. Well, I can't help that. It's my situation. This is what happened. And you don't really have any proof until you get the receipt, on the tow or the tire replacement or whatever, and you can't show them anything. And
Yeah,
as you just pointed out, you're telling them, well, they're going to be here in 35 minutes. 2 hours later, well, you said it's going to be 35 minutes. Well, that's what he told me. Now it's 2 hours, and so,
right.
what are you just stuck on the side of the road meeting a friend or what have you? And that's what they think because, most brokers or customers, they hear that BS all the time. So they never took that. That's just a great tool. Now, one thing I wanted to clarify, I might be right or wrong that I noticed on your 250, that's only if y'all only do it all the way through or something or another.
The $2.50 is just you just pay as you go. If you could get connected to a provider, it's $2.50. So it's a tool for you. We haven't had anybody complain about the pricing, and I would be very shocked if they did. But I do believe the value proposition. We're able to show how many phone calls we reduce, and even that $2.50 is just a bigger picture here.
Yeah, 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 for what companies spend on different parts. I mean, that's nothing. So when did you start this? What year?
So August is going to be year four. This year is going to be year four. Yeah.
That's
We
awesome. And
spent the first 2 years I was doing market research. I was pulling over to drivers on the side
Mhm.
of the interstate, recording interactions like, hey, how long have you been here? What do you want to see? Putting ourselves in the shoes. We went through a couple different versions. We released our full version last year, and we've been growing pretty exponentially. Our customers are happy, and it's been exciting to see how it's been evolving.
Awesome. So, how many users or like how many service people do you have in the platform so far?
Yeah, so I mean, our directory is a little over 15,000, but that's contributed by the fleets. So the fleets are the ones that are bringing those providers in, and they're saying, "Hey, well, this is my list of spreadsheet of providers I want to continue working with." And we have a fleet council comprised of 12 mega fleets. So we have a tire dealer council comprised, I think it's 9 tire dealers, and we spend time talking through the industry. How do we evolve? How do we change? How do we make it better? So what you see is built by the industry, generated by the industry. I tell people I'm really good at asking questions, and that's what we've done. We've asked the industry, "What do you want to get built?" and we built it for them.
Well, I mean, if you're willing to pull off the side road and talk to a truck driver to get it first on it, because it's one thing to go into a truck stop and ask a few questions, but if you're willing to pull off on the side of the road and get it, because that's when the driver's the hottest and you're gonna get the most true answers that you can get.
Yeah,
So that
I've
that's
had
commendable. Pat on your back for that.
I've had some crazy like you said what calls dispatch. You mother effers! I told you you've been sitting here for 4 hours, and then you
Yes.
get video of my wife get back in the car. But we recently had some of our engineers fly in from Argentina, and we were going to meet with Chick-fil-A in Charlotte, and so we're driving towards Charlotte, and I see a truck on the side of the road, and I pull over. I'm like, all right, guys, let's get out. We're going to talk to them. And these guys are nervous. They're like looking. They're like, okay, so we get out. Cars are flying by. Trucks are flying by. We get this lady out, we start talking to her, and I'm like, what was your last road call like? And she's like, well, the last one, I had an ambulance that plowed in the back of my truck. The driver got killed. But before that, and I'm like, wait, what? She's like, yeah, the ambulance plowed in, the driver got killed. But I don't work there no more. And I'm like, she's talking about it so casually. And we get
Right.
back in the truck, and the engineers, these guys are sitting there like visibly like shaken up by it, like what just happened? And I'm like, do you see why we have to be clear? It has to be easy. It has to be quick. because there's so many variables that could happen because of it. But yeah, we've spent our share on the road talking to drivers for sure.
Well, that's awesome. That's a pat on your back. I know they might not appreciate it in the moment, but I think a driver sitting back and hearing that story now would appreciate you taking the time and the effort to get that raw, because that's just raw data that you just can't get anywhere else. With your entrepreneurial spirit, your vision seems a little bit bigger than just roadside assistance. I mean, you really seem to be on a transparency level in trucking. Is there other things in your mind? I mean, you don't have to give any secrets, but you just seem like a person that you're trying to get this transparency and bringing people together. Do you see other things that you eventually could take maybe this process and move it into, even if it's something outside of trucking? I mean,
Yeah. Again, there's definitely some stuff in the works that we can't talk about,
okay.
just because the I'm not
Oh,
gonna
I
say
understand.
the secret
Yeah.
of it, but
That's your
I
secret sauce we can't get a hold of. That's what that
yeah,
is.
yeah. But what I believe my mechanic will evolve into, I'm fairly confident that we will pull it off, and I'm also fairly confident that if we pull it off, that it will be one of the most valuable pieces to transportation. And I think this is just a crux that we're trying to solve, and we're
Mhm.
focusing on this specific thing, and we're going to do it, and we're going to do it really well before we introduce all these other opportunities. But I mean, there's so many of plays here with payments where we want to help providers get paid quicker, where we want to help fleets not have to have 50 different payment accounts, paying people with credit cards and debit cards at 3 in the morning. So there's that. We want to help with insurance for service providers. We want to help with AI. We want to help with creating websites for people. We want to help providers ramp up their businesses, finance their trucks. The opportunities will be endless. But some of the cool things that we really are focusing on and our investors have an eye on, I think will be very interesting, but will really benefit the industry. Complementatively is the good word to put it that way, because it will just
Mhm.
be natural and it'll fit like a glove. But I think there's a lot of people in the industry, whether truckers, whether mechanics, whether people just working at big companies that have great ideas, and sometimes it takes coming together. And so one thing we will be doing is we will be introducing entrepreneurial opportunities where people can join the network with ideas, and my mechanic will help invest into those ideas if it benefits the marketplace or
Mhm.
ecosystem. And so there's people that have been doing something for 20 years, maybe something I would have never known because I haven't been doing it for 20 years. And he's like, hey, if you do this, this, and that, it's like, all right, let's fund you. This is your company. We're backing you. Here are the customers. Let's test it, see if it works. So I love
Nice.
some of the stuff you've been saying, because I feel like that's what separates us as a nation, than other countries. And I'm first to admit, immigrant, we moved from Ukraine when I was 4 in 1998, and
Mhm.
we just celebrated 250, and it's like it's amazing to see what we can do as a nation, as entrepreneurs, specifically in the transportation industry. The opportunities are endless, and
And
all it takes is a lot of stubbornness, a lot of stupidity, a lot of
hard
delusion,
head. Yeah, got to be
hard
hard
head.
headed.
Oh, that thing's got to be hard. But
Yeah.
when you start going at it, you just can't give up. And if you got a supportive family to keep you on the side, the God's the limit on that. You just go at it. So we're excited for the future.
Well, I can promise you what you just said. There's a dispatcher and probably a truck driver too that's going to be beating on the phone screen, going fix the payments, because at 2 o'clock in the morning, having to get a com check or something, and you can't get the dispatcher up. Yeah, yeah. So if you can, and the drivers don't have the money, because it's just several $1,000s for a repair. So like the driver can just pull out the cash. So yeah, if you can help with that, I know you'll make a lot of people happy there. So we kind of just touched on it a little bit, but where do you see the future of maintenance? Trucks are not as easy to work on anymore. I mean, they're a lot more computerized, so you got to have a lot more tools. It's not the shade tree mechanic, age anymore. You've got to buy the machinery to even hook the truck up to even know what's wrong with it.
Yep.
And then of course you got AI, and then we got newer trucks coming out. I mean, at some point we're gonna have electric trucks, which I'm not any thrilled to ever have them, and then we'll have autonomous trucks at some point. So where can you see maintenance going at some in the next couple of years or maybe 20 years out?
So everything you just said, I think it's not 20. I think it's this year. I think it's next year. I think it's last year. Specifically on the electric truck side, I was shocked myself to find out how much further it is than we think it is. And
Hmm.
so with maintenance on electric trucks, it's a whole nother world we're getting into because you have to be certified. You have to have specific certifications to even come close to an electric truck. And so we feel like there's a strong opportunity for myMechanic to spearhead that where we will take credible providers that are doing great. We see their track record. We can introduce training certification programs to them in specific areas where we have requests from fleets that have electric trucks. And we feel like we can certify them and give them opportunities and new horizons of working on trucks. So that's the electric side. Autonomous trucks, we have some strong partners with some of the companies we can't mention right now that are running autonomous vehicles in specific lanes. Same
Hmm.
thing. You have to be a certified mechanic or technician to come close. There's all these different guidelines and disclaimers and ways to do things. So technology there too can help play a role. As far as where we're at with maintenance, I think the OEMs are doing a great job of keeping things under the hood. They're doing a great job of making sure repetitive, specifically roadside issues, are trying to be fixed as much as possible, right? So you're not seeing something with this model happen with the neck. They're trying to find those things so that the customer experience is great. But you're never, it's inevitable. It's going to happen. It's a truck, it's hauling freight, it's
Oh
diesel,
yeah.
there's the components, the tires. The moment somebody comes out with the tire, that's not going to be blown ever. It's going to be the wealthiest guy in the world, right? But I think Michelin,
Yeah.
Bridgestone, Goodyear, Conti, all these big brands are doing a great job of creating a tire that's durable. You're seeing a lot of tier three tires come out that these tire dealers are selling. So there's, that side, you're still going to have breakdowns, you're still going to have road calls, but how do we attack them? How do we get to them quicker is a great thing. And I think the future of this specific industry is evolving. There are great products, there are great tools. You just saw Snap-on acquired Diesel laptops in Oregon. These are companies that are heavy into technology, giving the technicians tools to be able to do their job better. And I think that's the future. I think there's going to be programs, there's going to be companies, there's going to be startups. There are going to be opportunities that help streamline this specific niche side of transportation, but I don't think it's going away. I think it's just going to get prettier. It's going to get sexier. It's going to get a better experience for the driver at the end of the day. Because I tell people all of this is BS. The trucks, the technology, the telematics, the fuel cards. At the end of the day, you have a truck, you have a trailer, and you have a driver that needs to move good from point A to point B. And all this stuff that's built on top is, it's great.
That's true.
But what does it do to the bottom line of moving this truck from this to there? And I think you have to hone down to the very bottom, and that's what we're trying to do. We want to go to ground zero where we connect the driver to a mechanic as quickly as possible. And so he can move that good from point A to point B. And then from there, the evolution is going to be amazing.
So from your perspective on the mechanic side, I know it's going to take a lot. They got to be certified because those trucks seem to be kind of dangerous if you don't know what you're doing with with the batteries and all that. I know nothing about it, but I just know it's not as simple as a diesel engine that you can get into. Have you seen if there's enough people already certified to work on them, or is that because from my knowledge of the autonomous, they're only running for the most part in certain areas, right? They're not all over the
Yep.
U.S. But are those areas already have enough mechanics to handle, or I mean, because I do see that being if I'm a 18-year-old, maybe that's the kind of mechanic I go in versus just diesel. Maybe I'm trying to learn that too because that industry is going to grow, right? I mean, there's going to be need for more of them as that comes out. But are they already in a deficit already? You think?
So, so to back up, autonomous trucking companies, they're software companies, right? They're
Hmm.
hardware and they're software, where they will come in and they will take your truck and they will outfit it. I forgot the how long it takes them to outfit a truck from point A to point Z, and they'll take your Kenworth, they'll take your Peterbilt, they'll take whatever.
Right.
Now, there will be trucks rolling off of the OEM lines with it outfitted already, but the diesel truck is still a diesel truck. And so you're
Right.
still going to be required to be a diesel technician to work. Now, when it comes to the software itself, there definitely is a shortage in the sense that you have to train up a technician how to properly operate or touch that software because the moment you touch one of those cameras, You could, lose warranty. There's all sorts of things that come with it, right?
Oh wow. Yeah.
So the companies that are running the software and the technology are heavily involved with every breakdown experience. They are walking the technician, hey, when you come up to the truck, this is what you need to do. In fact, they have a whole guideline of what they need to do and how to do it. That being said, that whatever autonomous trucking company, I think that's smart on their part because now you don't have to train up thousands of technicians to do something completely different. It's more so,
Mhm.
hey, keep doing what you're doing. In addition to, if you want to work on these things, here are certifications, here are programs, which we hope to facilitate to get more and more of these providers. But right now, you're right. They're running in siloed areas, and they've done a
Mhm.
great job of reaching out and finding providers along those routes. But majority of them are using brand new trucks, brand new tires, brand new everything. So the
Yeah, it's
likelihood
like
of a
built.
breakdown, right? They're trying to be smart about it, which kudos to them. But as they start outfitting these fleets, they're losing the control off of that. It's what the fleet does, right? So
Mhm.
we have some really good conversations we're having with several companies that are leading the market in that to be able to help be ahead of that.
Most mechanics I know, they're old schoolers, they're not tech savvy. Do you see where there might have to be some that are just the tech side and then some are just the mechanic side? Or
Course, I think the way that the trucks are being built out, you said it earlier, they're getting so computerized that
Mhm.
there's more. Like you work on a truck right now, there's some you can't even do a mobile region without a computer there. You have to have a
Yeah.
computer everywhere you go. So I believe there's a great play for young technicians going in the industry that are more computerized, more than
Mhm.
they're focused on being diesel, just because there's going to be a high niche marketplace for those. Absolutely, yeah. But then you can't weed out those older guys that have been working on a truck. They can smell it and they'll tell you what the issue is, and you can
Yeah.
hear it and they'll tell you what the issue is. And you can't fight with experience. And
Yeah.
you're not going to cut out all the old trucks. It's going to take time to get those guys out of
Yeah.
the industry. And so I believe there's a fair market for both, and the
Mhm.
opportunity is equal for both. But I do agree with you. I think the way that the industry is evolving with AI and technology, that it's very wise to get into that space as well.
Yeah, because I mean, you can't even work on I've got a 23 model car. It's fully computerized. I mean, you can't, they have to hook it up for they can, of course, and these younger ones, they don't know, like you said, they don't have that experience to be able to listen, or smell, hey, that's what's wrong. Oh, you got to
Yeah.
plug it up, and even if you know how to fix it, you still got to plug it up to get it to the codes to go back normal so you can, don't have any, sensors going off. I want to bring up something to you, with the way the industry is now with all the fraud, it double brokering and all that, which I know you're not in it today to day, but that brings me to, driver verification. The company that I'm a part of is my main sponsor's Ready app. That's what they do. It's driver verification. They have drivers. We have drivers come in, and it's basically a startup company. It's been less than 2 years old, so they're going through the same struggles and reboots and different things that you've experienced. But their driver passport is for the driver to have all their information, CDL, medical card, pictures of the truck, insurance, their authority, or whoever they're working with's authority, and it verifies who that driver is. Is that something that would need for like y'all's part? So then exactly, you tell this mechanic, hey, this is actually John Smith at the truck with this picture of the truck. I mean, because it's a scary world out there for truck drivers and for service people because you don't know who you're getting up to until you get there. I mean, you don't even know if it's a real dispatcher that you talk to sometimes. So I mean, it can be a dangerous, situation if you don't have all the information. Is that something that would be vital for technology like yours for safety wise?
So a little background. I'm still an advisor to Verified Carrier. I spent some time in my career in the fraud space
Mhm.
where we were
Okay.
catching fraudsters. So work closely with the Verified Carrier guys with Genlogs, and I
Hmm.
think there's a lot of great technology that's coming out. But you're right, the driver level component is becoming the next focus because it started out with carriers. Hey, is this carrier legit? And now it's going down to the driver level because people are like, okay, now the carrier is legit. How do I know this is the driver with this carrier? And so I think one of the things that we're tackling is fraud in this space as well, where you have drivers that do chargebacks that kill the industry,
Yeah.
that service providers are stuck. they drive off and they call the credit card company and say, he never did that. And so one of the things we are working towards is exactly that, where drivers are going to have validation and verification. There's going to be a credit following them, but also helping them be real. So if one of those things that is connecting the unit, which we're working on building out, one of the secrets I can't talk about will be a passport for the truck, where just like
Okay.
you guys are doing for the driver, we want to have the unit, whether it's, hey, all the maintenance logs, there's a QR code that gets scanned that you contribute to this unit's history
Hmm.
of following along. And so I think what you guys are doing, there's definitely some opportunity for us to work together. But again, going back to my concept of there's a driver, there's a truck, and there's a trailer.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, the driver, who is the most important person of all of this, is getting penalized because everybody is telling them to do one thing, do it the other way, go that way, do it that way, and drive this far and do that. And so I feel like what you guys are doing is amazing of giving in a way, giving the drivers their identity back because they're getting penalized
Absolutely.
because of all the fraud that's happening. People are putting it on them, and the good guy's paying for the bad guy, and the bad guy's not even in this country. He's somewhere
Yeah.
else. And so I think
Exactly.
there's definitely a great play. I think the opportunity, what we used to tell people is when we would get pushback is like, look, let's start giving you an opportunity to single yourself out. That way you can charge a premium. If somebody wants to pay you, undercut you and pay you half the load, let them pay somebody else. But you're going to give them this passport, this identity that says, this is who I am. This is what I'm going to do. And you can trust me. And I think that is where the industry's going, especially with rates going up right now, volume
Yeah.
going up. That is what's going to separate you with brokers and different shippers being able to say, yes, I want you to haul my load, and how quickly can you do it?
Yeah. And I will tell you this, and you probably already know this, but I'll give you a secret on this part. If you're able to do something like that with a truck, that would tremendously, I think, help the driver because I think a lot of times what happens for company drivers is they get penalized because a carrier they with does not do a very good job maintaining the truck. And so they're the ones that get penalized out on the road. So if there's a way that, driver can go, hey, I did what I'm supposed to do. I can't help the company wouldn't let me bring the truck in to get something fixed on it. This is, so I kudos for that because
That's never happened.
yeah, yeah, not in this
Never.
industry, right?
No,
But
it would never.
well, Alex, I've appreciate the conversation today. I appreciate exactly what you're doing in the industry. I think it's very well needed. It's very well received with my audience and with everybody in trucking. I think is something that simplifies a lot of a major headache. But before I let you go, tell us how we can get in touch with you, how we can, get with the my mechanic and if there's any because I think you need to definitely talk to the service people out there that because I think it's a great play for the service people to get in partnership with you to get their exposure out there.
Yeah, so I would appreciate people not touching me, but if you want to email me, my email is alex at mymechanic.app. Our website is trymymechanic.com. We usually say don't just use any mechanic, use my mechanic. But
There you go.
yeah, but again, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, Facebook, we're on email. Just again, that's my personal email. Just email me if you're a service provider and you're looking for new opportunities or trying to get a way to find a platform to help manage your technicians. Just try mymechanic.com. If you're a fleet trying to manage your business better with your breakdown division or your team, try mymechanic.com. That's the website. It's not try my, it's one word.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, so again, we're after the industry. You're probably going to be seeing us around for quite some time. We're going to be doing some pretty cool things in the near future with billboards, with programs, with initiatives. You're probably, going to come in contact with us regardless if a fleet's using us. They're going to be using my mechanic to dispatch you. So getting ahead of the curve is awesome and earning some new opportunities. We've helped some providers work with mega fleets that they've never worked with before, and they're becoming premium providers for them. So it's happening. I'm excited. I really appreciate the time today and looking forward to change the industry together with all y'all.
Yeah, no, we appreciate Alex the conversation today that was focused on one of the biggest hidden nasty words, in the industry's downtime. So, I appreciate you, putting the effort and your entrepreneurial spirit in that. I know once people get more familiar with your product and use it, they'll feel the same way. Because every fleet, every single driver goes through that at least once every quarter, if not,
Yeah.
for a single person, and for a carrier, it's daily. So again, I appreciate that. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy day. Everybody, I appreciate you checking us out again on another episode of Behind the Wheelhouse. If you like the episode, link, follow, share, like, push it. I don't care what you do. Just get it out there, get him some exposure. Check us out on all our different socials. We got every social you can think of, so check us out there, and we'll see y'all next time on Trucker Talk Radio. Today's episode is sponsored by Gray Cross. Every day, professional drivers make sacrifices that most people never see. Long hours, missed holidays, time away from family, and the responsibility of keeping America's supply chain moving. Gray Cross was created to support those drivers and their families when life takes an unexpected turn. By providing assistance, resources, and support during the difficult times, Gray Cross helps strengthen the trucking community one family at a time. Because behind every truck is a driver. Behind every driver is a family counting on them. If you'd like to support the mission, visit graycross.org to learn more. Donations are always appreciated, but simply sharing their message with others in the industry can make a tremendous difference. Gray Cross, supporting the people who keep America moving. Today's episode is brought to you by ReadyApp. Trust is the one most valuable asset in transportation. That's why ReadyApp created Driver Verify. Driver Verify helps carriers, brokers, and transportation companies gain greater confidence through verified driver identities, professional credentials, work history, and onboarding visibility. Drivers can securely maintain CDL information, endorsements, certifications, and employment records all in one professional profile. As fraud continues to impact the transportation industry, verification has never been more important. ReadyApp, verified drivers, trusted freight. Go check them out at ready-app.com.